going to take a break because we did wind up finding a backup match already. Since Kyle was unfortunately vanquished that quickly, he was able to help us out and start setting up a backup feature match, which is going to wind up being Charles Wynn, a very regular player at the store here, playing one of his favorite kinds of decks, which is his 5-color shiny elemental money pile deck, going up against Blake Sorensen, who's going to be playing Jund Sacrifice, which was the talk of the town at the Pioneer RC in Lille. Through the power of animation magic.
Can't underestimate the little guys.
Sure, I'll keep this on.
We got a companion battle going on here. Jund Sacrifice most of the time is playing the Giganta package, or the Giganta companion, which means that there's no Shieldridge, Archfiends, normal Rakdos-y type things in the sideboard, but Charles is also wind up playing Yorion just to fit more shiny cards in their deck, and it looks like Charles on the play here in game number 2, quiz a quick new Capenna fetch land, and is going to wind up going up to 21 life off of that before getting their land tapped and passing the turn.
Yep, Blake starting. Let's see what they have here. Blake's thinking really hard about this turn.
Blake is just waiting for Charles to pass over that giant deck that he needs to eventually shuffle and cut.
Yes. A lovely 80 card triple sleeve. Like we are starting. Oh, Thoughtseize.
All right, Black Leakless into Thoughtseize puts Blake down to 18. We get to see everything Charles is up to. A bunch of shiny lands, which thanks to our new position of the camera, are less glaring, so we can actually see what everything is. And Yasharn!
Oh no.
That is a sideboard card and a half.
That would have turned off Blake's deck completely, but Yasharn getting discarded here, unfortunately. The rest of the hand really is mostly lands. I see a Tranquil Frill back there, but I think, what is it? World Tree, another new Capenna fetch, a Mana Confluence, and something else we don't know about.
Yeah, the Yasharn hitting the graveyard is a little problematic here for Charles, but if his list is very similar to the way that it was built in the last couple of weeks, we do have Port of Karfell, so in order to reanimate something from our graveyard with using one of our lands, his deck also winds up having the Nissa Risen Reef package, so you can sort of sift through and find a bunch of lands really easily. So just because it's in the graveyard for now doesn't mean it's always going to stay there, but it will for just for a few turns as Charles passes the turn back with his tapped fetch land, gaining him a life, and then Blake is going to be throwing down a Pioneer All-Star Blood Tithe Harvester and getting a blood token. Haven't seen this one for a hot minute, actually.
I know, right? I feel like with the rise of Rakdos demons, a lot of other Rakdos lists aren't really running Blood Tithe Harvester anymore. So unfortunately, this king among Rakdos decks has been seeing a steep decline here in Pioneer.
Flip side, though, we did wind up Charles throwing down one of the namesake engine cards of his deck in this Risen Reef. So when it enters the battlefield, look at the top card of your library, found a land card and was able to put it down onto the battlefield tap. So Charles, again, with a plethora of pretty basic lands because of those new Capenna fetch lands, going to have to running a ton of basics and not a lot of triumphs or anything like that. And most importantly, is going to want to keep this Risen Reef alive as much as possible, so is definitely not going to be chump blocking a Blood Tithe Harvester when he's at 22.
Yeah, very healthy life total right now. Charles isn't really worried about these beats, unfortunately. I think he's just worried about Ygra coming down. Even Cat Oven doesn't really kill him immediately.
All right, so we have second Blood Tithe Harvester, and we have Witch's Ovens, and Blake passing the turn. Blake did go for the little bit of extra combat damage there rather than just tapping the Harvester to remove the Risen Reef with its activated ability. We are going to see Charles now throwing down a Mana Confluence, and what else do we got here?
I think it's Tranquil Throwback turn. That's why he was playing Confluence, possibly, to be able to pay green for the modes.
All right, what modes are we playing here?
Destroy target artifact or enchantment, getting rid of the Witch's Oven early.
That makes a lot of sense. So Witch's Oven down. That's going to wind up putting Charles down to 18 off of the Mana Confluence, but now Charles has an equally large creature on the battlefield. This 3/3 will do wonders against at least taking out one of these Blood Tithe Harvesters, whether it be through tapping and sacrificing it or blocking in combat.
Yeah, a little bit rough for Charles. If he had more green mana, then he definitely would have paid for the other modes, I believe. Being able to gain life here, or even just starting to exile Blake's graveyard here would actually make a huge difference in the long run.
All right, another attack here from Blake, and Charles is going to let the damage go through down to 12. Second oven from Blake is probably a good reason why the first one was thrown out there so haphazardly. And we're just going to see a passing of the turn to Charles. 2 unknown cards and a couple of extra lands. We're going to have a fetch land and a world tree in hand. World Tree will hit the battlefield tapped because there are not enough lands on the battlefield. That's just going to be buying Yorion. Is that just passing of the turn? All
Oh,
right, not the
no.
greatest from Charles.
Yeah, Yorion in this situation, unfortunately, is kind of a sign of weakness. Oh, looks like Deadly Dispute, sacking one of the blood tokens, making a treasure, drawing 2 cards.
All right.
Such good rate. I wish I got that in red.
Deadly Dispute.
Yeah.
You get like Ren's Resolve. You just look at cards on the top of your library. You have Unlucky Witness.
Yeah, that's-
Also pairs very well with Deadly Dispute.
yeah, in order to get this kind of an effect, I have to go up 1 more mana for like Seize the Spoils. That's just not fair.
Ooh, Thoughtseize number 2 is going to come down, so we get to look at what else Charles has in his hand. Thinking about this one, though, has enough mana to get lost, and it looks like going to be taking a damage because of that due to Mana Confluence, get losting away the oven, and going to be giving Blake just a plethora of tokens.
Yeah, more map tokens. Only lands left in Charles's hand, so he automatically discards the Yorion.
Oh man, that's unfortunate. The Yorion was bought for that turn, and then Charles had to just immediately discard it, so... Yeah, we're definitely looking at a bit of a rough spot here. We had Charles down to 11. It looks like players may have either corrected our count or something, and we have Charles at 12 on the iPad over there, taking 3 more damage from this Blood Tithe Harvester as a Tranquil Throwback jumps in front of the other one. And all right, let's see. Is there an Omnath, a second Risen Reef, a Nissa? Any of these things would be good here from Charles.
Charles needs anything. Nissa would actually be insane here. Being able to start making mana because he still has more new Capenna fetches in hand. Oh,
That signal's probably not Nissa.
Yeah, that signal's probably not a lot of things because you would have wanted to play Omnath first before playing your land.
All right, finds the Black Mana. So, Port of Karfell online, if we find it.
World Tree is online here, isn't it?
World Tree should be online. Ooh, Lumra. Okay, that's a heck of a top deck. So Lumra hits the battlefield, and we're about to get a lot of life gain triggers here.
Yep, and also Risen Reef trigger here too, because Lumra is an elemental.
Man, I always forget that it's an elemental bear, not just bear.
It's a tree bear.
All right, we're going to get a response here. A Deadly Dispute on one of these map tokens from Blake. That's going to create another treasure. That's also going to draw 2 cards. Blake potentially looking at something to get rid of this Risen Reef with Lumra on the stack, it looks like.
Did he find it? He's thinking really hard about it.
Yeah, 3 mana. We have Revolt. We can Fatal Push. Oh, we're tapping 2. All right, Deadly Dispute
Another
number
one.
2. All right. Deadly Dispute, supposedly.
Okay. So Blake didn't make another treasure? What? I think the treasure count is off, but oh well.
There should be an additional treasure.
There's one, right? Yeah.
All right, so Charles going to flip over an
Our
Omnath.
favorite jelly bean himself, Omnath, Locus of Creation.
And now Lumra is going to get our trigger to mill 4 cards. We're going to wind up finding a bunch of lands here, including an additional new Capenna fetch land. There's also an extra Lumra. So we're going to wind up finding 1 regular basic land and 4 of these fetch lands altogether. So Charles should be going back up to 14. And this is, that Lumra was basically all Charles needed to really start turning this game around.
Yeah, this is insane. Not only does he have the biggest blocker now, Charles is also putting his life total back to a pretty healthy spot. Like, unless Blake starts comboing off with Ygra, I don't think Charles is dying anytime soon.
Yep, so here we go. Charles can find up to 4 basic lands. Let's see if Charles has that many left. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, there's still half of your deck. Between the triple sleeve and the Yorion from Charles's deck, I mean, I was convinced that what he had in his hand was the entirety of his deck.
Yeah, I know, right? Unfortunately not, but the World Tree doing insane things. Actually, this is one of the reasons why Charles was able to cast Lumra without taking extra damage.
Yeah, so World Tree being able to, now with 6 or more lands, we'll have tap, add 1 mana of any color, and the activated ability, I don't think Charles has any gods in his deck, but if he does, it's a 10 mana tutor for at least 1 of them.
Nice.
I guess at least 0 of them, because it does say any number.
Yeah.
So you really just want to sacrifice a permanent, trigger your opponent's Mayhem Devil.
I mean, you also put them all on the battlefield, so it should just be game over if you trigger that.
I remember playing It was a World Tree Porphyros Ohir Axonil deck for a video one time. So you
Okay.
get your World Tree online as quickly as possible at Sunken Citadel, you pop it, and you wind up playing your Porphyros and Ohir Axonils, and then you have like Clothis and stuff just because it's good against Phoenix. And you like dome them for 40 off of what is basically a Valakut. We are going to have Blake here throwing down a Fable of the Mirror Breaker, so yet another powerful Pioneer mainstay is going to hit the battlefield, but there's a giant, what is it, a 4, 8, 11 bear on the other side, and the Jelly Bean as well, which is going to get us tons of triggers.
Oh, Jellybean drawing Splunking here. Or actually, revealing Splunking? Wait, does Risen Reef... Oh, Risen Reef puts the card in your hand.
Risen Reef does put the card in hand if it's not a land. I had to find the right art. That's why it took me a while.
So, Charles having a Splunking, being able to draw. So start being able to dome Blake with Omnath's third mode here.
Yeah, that's the one that doesn't necessarily happen in Pioneer a ton, but I know a lot of modern players enjoyed playing that mode. But Charles' deck is one of the few that can actually activate the coveted deal 4 to each opponent in Planeswalker that you don't control.
Yeah, who knew, right?
Oh,
I thought this was...
of Karfell.
There it is. If he's able to get Yasharn back up, this will be pretty close to game over for Blake.
And Charles should have 6 mana available. Right?
I think
I mean, we have
so.
Omnath floating mana as well still, I believe.
He should.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, he did spend
Oh,
it.
no, he
That's
finds
right.
Lumra number 2 instead. All right.
Oh,
So we're
Charles says, I don't care.
Charles just might be looking to bump up the other Lumra and keep that one around. Lumra is legendary, so one of these will have to die. I'm assuming it's going to be the one that he just
Oh my
played.
god, it's all lands.
That's pretty good.
Oh my god.
Gain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We get 5 more life.
And I deal 4.
This actually makes a lot of sense.
6
Because
more
with
life?
the extra Lumra, then he's already getting Port of Karfell back. And then being able to sack it again for whatever he wants.
That's true. So we are going to have a Risen Reef trigger, I believe.
I think he looped, and then Blake is just dead.
Yeah, Blaze is dead.
Yeah.
All right, so Charles.
Yeah, because Charles is going to keep milling
Lumbering.
lumbering himself until he gets another Jelly Bean, and then basically Legend Rule and loop Omnath, and then just keep doming him for 4.
All right, and that's going to be it. So there you go. Not only is it enabling the Omnath doming for 4, but it is going to be the way that the deck wins the game this time around, as Charles is going to take game number 2 and force a game number 3 with 11 minutes left in the round.
Yeah, both decks don't win particularly quickly, but, you know, whoever gets their combo online first might just take it.
I mean, it could wind up being a situation where whoever hits turn 5 first could win the game. I mean, we saw 0 cats and 0 Ygras, which are also cats, to be fair. We saw 0 cats from Blake's side that game, which basically just Rakdos mid-range with a couple of Witches Ovens. And then we wound up from Charles's side, we had that kind of combo off going down on, well, that was like turn 6, I think?
Yeah.
Maybe 7? I don't know, I wasn't counting, so I don't know.
Me to get into it, but I don't have any
He had a ton of lands, so it's very difficult to tell, and I know that Blake missed at least 1 land drop.
Yeah, I think it was turn 6, because I think there was 1 Risen Reef trigger.
That's right, yeah. 1 Risen Reef trigger, then we end up having Lumra hitting the battlefield because there are nothing but lands in Charles's hand, especially after the Yorion and everything else hit the graveyard. All right, Charles did remember to put the Yorion back into the companion zone. Charles is notorious for shuffling it back into his deck, specifically on camera.
Yeah, he did remember this time. This is why I always keep my companion in a different color sleeve unless I need it.
Yeah, I like keeping it in like one of those like the plastic things, but in the sleeve that I have for my deck in case like it gets like fairy tucked or something. And then but then you still have to remember to take it out. So you know, mental onus is still on you.
Yeah, but you know, having a top loader there, you'd be like, I wonder what this empty top loader is.
I wonder what this giant plastic thing sticking out of my deck is. I would definitely just shuffle that. All right, Blake on the play. Plays tapped Overgrown Tomb, putting the green in Jund for his deck, and passes the turn over to Charles, who just actually plays a basic land and passing the turn here.
Yeah, both players starting off a little bit on the slower side, but you know, maybe that's not such a bad thing. Oh, Blood Tithe Harvester coming down. Our lovely 3-2 for 2. Oh, Charles is going to take 1 and play.
Voice of Resurgence. That's
Oh my
it's
god.
elemental.
That is an elemental.
Also pretty good against the deck that wants to play Fatal Push and stuff on its opponent's turn, or potentially Deadly Disputing things at the end of your opponent's turn. This is going to start making elemental tokens as well. So if there's a follow-up Risen Reef to this, Blake needs to have removal spells.
Yeah, this is so spicy. Blake, oh, yep, Fable of the Mirror Breaker on turn 3.
That would make sense.
No removal here, although I think he's probably just going to try and swing in with the Blood Tithe Harvester. I don't think Charles is particularly incentivized to trade here. Oh,
Nope, he's
does
just going to wind
block.
up making the elemental. All right. So I guess knowing that Blake was just kind of playing the sorcery speed things, decides that, okay, I'm just going to get my value out of this elemental token right here. I don't want to take the extra damage. This also might signal that Charles doesn't have a Risen Reef in hand.
yeah, because otherwise you would think trying to get extra value out of it is pretty important.
Oh, second
Okay.
basic forest. We see a couple fetch lands. Is there a Nissa this turn? That's what I would think. Nope, Splunking.
Spelunking. Okay, okay. Spelunking, draw a card, play another land for turn, ramping Charles up here. One
And
more
it's a
than
fetch
neutral
land?
and fetch lands of his life. And grabbing another basic, which will actually come into play untapped now.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Splunking.
Yeah, Spelunking is a very important piece to kind of tie this deck together. Without it, I think it's a tiny bit slow in certain situations. But this definitely lets it go toe-to-toe with the more aggro-style decks.
All right, so we get an untapped basic planes here for Charles's side.
Does it just have another Voice of Resurgence?
That could also be the thing, is the second Voice of Resurgence means the first one blocking is definitely not bad. We do have Blake just taking up to chapter 2 of this Fable of the Mirror Breaker, deciding what he wants to do while Charles is shuffling up his deck. Looks like discarding a second Blood Tithe Harvester, just drawing one off of the Fable trigger. Now it's on Blake, basically. Do we have Oven, Cat, Land, Oven, Cat, Untap, Cat, Ygra would be pretty good.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was to see.
Oh, Mayhem Devil's also pretty good, though.
Devil is here. So trading. Oh, not trading. It's a 1/1, isn't it? Tanking. Tanking the Goblin Shaman since he would die from sacking anything anyway, so might as well not take damage here.
All right, we got a treasure token over on Blake's side, and that's representing Ygra next turn. However, there are no cats in graveyard or battlefield quite yet, and no Witch's Oven, with which she used a sacrifice outlet for them. But this Mayhem Devil, as we mentioned early on in the cast, does mean that Risen Reef is basically a non-factor from Charles's side now.
Yeah, kind of unfortunate. Charles counting his mana, though. Let's see what he's got here. It doesn't seem like Risen Reef. 3 mana without blue.
There's the Nissa.
Nissa is here. So Nissa being one of the ways to accelerate mana in this deck. With every landfall, you get to add mana. You also get to, on the second time it resolves, get to flip over cards until you hit an elf or an elemental.
Oh, there's an Omnath in Charles's hand as well. So this is Nissa playing Fabled Passage, getting you a mana. Then you're going to crack the Fabled Passage, reveal to find an elemental, get you a mana, and then that is also going to create give you an untapped basic, which would be 4 mana altogether, unless Charles has a better play.
Wait, that's sick.
That is pretty sick. Oh, but no, it's just going to Get Lost this turn around. So going to Get Lost on the Mayhem Devil, and we'll see if Blake has any responses to this one.
Okay, I will, in response to Get Lost. Treasure.
All right, sacking a treasure token that gets 1 ping. It looks like it may be going after the Nissa, since I see no life total changes on the pad. And just as I say that, Charles reaches over and pings down. And then we sacrifice the Mayhem Devil to the Deadly Dispute.
Okay,
So we saw Charles paying 1 life for the Mana Confluence. This will get a second ping down, so that means Mayhem Devil puts Charles down to 16, draws Blake 2 cards, and should give him that extra treasure token. Interestingly enough, though, did not want to take the Nissa out the door with him, and instead sacrificing the Mayhem Devil to not get map tokens.
Yeah, that was a little bit sus.
If you sack the blood token there, you get the treasure token, you can use it. Okay, we have the Fatal Push anyway. Okay, so Fatal Push here will just get rid of the Nissa entirely, so just getting some pot shots in at Charles, and that makes a lot of sense as to why you would wind up getting rid of the Mayhem Devil instead of your token that you can use later.
Yeah, makes sense, makes sense. So Fable flipping here.
I'm also interested. Charles very much so valuing getting rid of that Mayhem Devil may signal that in addition to Omnath, there is a Risen Reef in hand after all. Maybe drew into that one a little bit later. Because of that Nissa play, though, we would have potentially had a very powerful Omnath Nissa turn, and then potentially could have just found a Lumra off of that Nissa trigger as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Beza or whatever other elemental bear, elk, cat Bloomburrow gave us. Speaking of cat, hey, Cat and Oven come out here from Blake.
Yep, so Cat Oven is online here. Fable also being on the battlefield.
Flip Fable and Cauldron Familiar are a very fun combination of cards. You can eventually just slowly drain people out by making a bunch of cats with your Fable the Mirror Breaker, and then continuing to return your original cat from the graveyard to the battlefield. A quick passing of the turn, cracking this Fable passage with nothing else on the battlefield here for Charles. So maybe looking just to kind of haymaker slam something down here. I mean, because of Nissa being gone and no World Tree on the battlefield now, you need other colors of mana because there's only 2 forests and a plains. You need to find another basic to cast the Omnath if that's what you're going to do this turn.
Yeah, it kind of looks like Omnath here. Because that's his 3rd color, Mana Confluence is the 4th. Omnath.
All right, so we're going to draw a card. I think we have a fetch land in hand. There we go. So that's going to get us 5 life.
Yeah, 5 life, 4 mana. And then 2 more mana from land, so 6 potential mana right here. It might be a Lumra play.
Yeah, Charles's deck with all these kind of neat little niche interactions off of landfall is a very powerful kind of combination. I know previous versions of this deck, he was running Lotus Cobra over Risen Reef and not going for the full elemental package. But here you go. He's like you just said, Eric. Lumra hits the battlefield, and that's going to be a lot more landfall triggers.
Yep, so Lumra coming in, gonna mill 4, and then bring them all back. So Blake will get dumped for 4 definitely here this turn. The question is whether or not Charles is able to find a Port of Karfell, because that is kind of the crucial piece to get this loop to continue going.
Kenrith, Fable Passage, World Tree, Grafdigger's Cage. That's definitely a card and a half. It looks like we are going to wind up now having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lands coming back, 3 of which are going to be New Capenna fetches. So Charles should wind up going up to 20. That puts him back to his starting life total. We're going to find 3 additional basics. And that's going to be doming Blake for 4 off of the Omnath's very rarely used 3rd trigger.
Yep, so Blake going down to 17. Charles pumping his life total up to a very healthy amount. So I think we are at the point in the game where it's either Ygra or nothing for Blake.
Yeah, he does have 1 cat. He does have an oven. So if you just need cat, Scavenger's Talent, oven, cat, Scavenger's Talent, Ygra, some sort of thing like that should be the way to go about it. We'll have to see if Blake actually even gets an additional turn here, as Charles is just going to buy the Orion with a bunch of the extra floating mana. And I think that just might wind up being what the case is buying the Orion and passing the turn back over to Blake, who's head in hands right now. Only 30 seconds left in the round as well.
Like right now, it's funny because it's like we're in the 3rd back-to-back.
So we're about to...
And he took 4 damage for it? Yes. I was at 21.
Yeah, and we had Blake saying he was at 21, took the 4 damage. I think Charles may have missed his own life gain off of the New Capenna lands. Has his life total at 17 instead of what I had was 20.
Yeah, I was told that they do have a little bit more time compared to our actual round timer since we did move them.
All right, which is going to be going off in our ears in 3 seconds. Looks like they have an additional 5 minutes, so about 4.5 minutes remaining as the end of round timer does go off here. So they are not quite in turns. They do have a little bit of extra time, which Blake is probably going to need because look at Charles's battlefield after that turn.
Yeah, I mean, Blake is hard-pressed to find some way to win here. It's not even an answer to stuff. He needs
The win.
the win. Otherwise, I think Charles is just going to run away with it next turn. Because we do see Yorion in hand. Yorion coming down, going to blink everything. Get enough triggers, draw, and mill to be able to probably find the key pieces it needs.
And it feels like a cool deck building tool.
Blake thinking really hard about this. You can see he's stressing so hard the lines are coming out of his forehead.
Oh yeah, each one of those is a fetch land that Charles has cracked this game.
You gotta play a little bit. Yeah, sorry. You don't have time.
Charles reminding Blake about the timer. All right, Ygra's hit the battlefield. All right, so we have Ygra, we have Cat, we have Oven. We are one piece away from Blake actually just winning the game.
Blake needs what? Another cat?
Another cat. We have 2 treasure tokens as well.
Yeah. Oh, passing the turn here. Let's see it.
Is sacrifice the goat.
So land for turn. Fetching, pumping Charles's life up. So Charles, I think, is kind of incentivized to go in for a big swing with Lumra and then blink it afterwards.
Is that
Another fetch.
Yeah, so we're cracking the other Fabled Passages.
Yep, so all 3 modes of Omnath coming in. He's going to have 4 floating mana, 4 life, and then double Blake for 4.
And that's a 12-12 Lumra right now as well.
Yeah, like I do think that Charles is incentivized to try and force Blake to make blocks. I don't believe.
I was saying in with the Lumra.
Yep.
Lumra swinging in. We're gonna have some cat shenanigans coming in. Charles have.
Gonna get lost the oven.
All right, Oven gets lost.
I don't know how an oven gets lost. Someone has to explain that one for me.
I don't know. We almost lost the microwave back here before.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the tinier oven. It was underneath a bunch of the stuff in the back room that we had to clear out in order to get the stream set up here.
But oven is gone, so
Sack outlet's gone, most importantly.
the problem is one cat does still mean that Blake is just going to win here with the combo. So hopefully Charles is able to draw something off of this this Omnath flicker.
And I will enter. This way enters.
Oh, we're even flickering the Splunking here off of the Orient too. This is gonna be a lot of triggers here for Charles.
Yep. So Lumra happening first. 1, 2, 3.
A second craft triggers case. Aftermath Analyst.
Analyst is here. There's no Port of Karfell.
All right, so we milled our cards.
Deal 4 damage here.
And that deals 4.
And I will.
So Blake going down to 11. About 1 minute left on the clock for these players as well.
A little curious why Charles didn't have the Omnath come in first. Oh no, these are just triggers.
These are just-
They're all.
Yeah, they're all on the stack. Charles really looking for the rest of his basics.
Yeah, so doming Blake for 4 again.
Then we'll have a card draw.
Yep, and Spunking will come in and have another card draw as well. So hopefully there's some answer within the top 2 cards.
And then if Port of Karfell is in hand, that'll also enter the battlefield off of the Splunking.
Yep.
Draw here.
I don't think Fury. I think Fury
Draw here.
completely limits. Like if Fury was around,
All right, Charles. That is not a Port of Karfell.
That should come into play untapped, but I don't know if it's going to matter at this point.
Oh, now our players are in turns now.
All right, so that was the end of turn 0.
Oh, jeez.
Charles
Okay.
has so many lands on the battlefield right now.
The thing is, like, if... Okay. The problem is, like, Fabled Passage no longer represents Omnath triggers, I don't think, because I don't think there are any fetchables left in the deck.
No, but what will happen is if you fetch sack the Fabled Passages, you'll have at least enough things coming back off of a Lumra Blank, right?
That's true.
But there's plenty of New Capenna fetch lands in there as well, so you don't need those Fabled Passages right now. With the World Tree, they'll tap for mana. Shit.
That is true.
Oh, you don't bench. You had a graveyard.
All right, Bins who claimed the Firstborn off that. Don't think that's doing anything on this battlefield right now.
Nope.
Tapping 3. All right, Fable the Mirror Breaker hits the battlefield. So we do now have on... So this is turn 1. On turn 5, it'll flip, and then we'll have the ability to make a bunch, but then we won't have the untap phase. So
Yeah,
that's not
no.
going to be something that Blake can do. That's probably just going to be digging for the win next turn if he survives.
Sure, we'll make a goblin. Okay.
Well, no, Donorado. It's just print new ones. It's
So copying a goblin token, gonna swing in with the cop.
With this one. I'll block.
Make a treasure. There we go.
Dies since it's a food.
All right, so we're just growing Ygra to be insurmountably large, it looks like. That might be Blake's chance of just dealing with how big Lumra is.
Actually,
I mean, the thing is, I don't think it matters. Lumra is just insurmountably large.
Charles counting his basics to see if he can actually use the Omnath trigger on Blake's end step here.
Yeah, trying to figure out if he has any more fetches left.
It looks like
I
he
just,
might not.
Need to make sure I have enough. Is it lethal?
Charles, all right, so if you are not in the Card Art Discord, store owner Ryan, very great person, love him to death. Happy belated birthday to Ryan as well. Ran a contest to take pictures of our desks to see if the stereotype of cardboard nerds leave cards all over their computer desks because they're sorting and everything. First off, yes, everybody did. Second off, I think this is Charles's official submission right here. I'm gonna screenshot this one and put it in there for him, just so he gets something.
I know, right? all right. Photos and videos.
I'm actually doing it. People can't see that I'm doing it, but I actually am.
Nope. 1, 2, 3. Actually, no. I do gain to 4. Yeah.
All right, and he's gonna wind up gaining 4 life off lands coming to the battlefield.
No 4 mana. All my base.
Gained 1 life off of looks like a fetch land.
Yeah. He's out of fetchables, unfortunately. He wasn't able to do all the on-us modes.
This looks like this basically looks like the remaining cards in Charles's deck looks like my normal decks right now.
Yeah.
All right, so attacking with Lumra.
So Yorion coming in over the top. The question now is,
Can Charles win? Charles
Yeah.
was turn 2.
this is turn 2.
So he has 1 more turn. So he has Yorion attack and Lumra, and Omnath trigger. That's how he wins the game. But I don't think he has any cards left in hand.
Oh, he has 2.
Two
The 2
cards in
face down
hand.
things over there. So I think he has responses, but he doesn't have the Port of Karfell to try and start looping.
All right, so Blake's turn discards 2 somewhat useless cards at this point in the game and draws
Blake's
2
just-
more off a Fable.
Yeah, Blake's just looking for a cat.
We need cat. We need... Oh,
he.
game.
Oh.
Right, Blake can't find the cat. Has the oven, but there's no cat in sight. Charles in turns with a huge battlefield
Industry.
is going to be taking game number 3 and the round.